Good morning, everybody. This is Daniel Whited calling you from Denver, Colorado. We got Dr. Kurt Fisnick with us today. This is the doctor's clinic where the world really is your waiting room. And they're waiting for you to bring them some information about how to put themselves in a position to get healthier. And it's just that simple. You know, with so many things out there and that are blocking the pathways for better health, and especially the pathway as to when it comes to, just getting your body composition to respond to the way it's supposed to be. And so, Dr. Kurt, you're with us this morning. Good morning, sir. Tell us about your day, and let's get started.
Hey, good morning, DW, and thanks for being with me on the call every week. I really appreciate that. And I was talking to Chris yesterday from Florida, and I was saying, we need to figure out how to syndicate this call and get it on the air. So if anybody that's listening has any ideas, I'd love to have this call, go on the air, go live, maybe on an internet radio station or something like that. But anyhow, DW, thanks for being here. And I was just thinking this morning, when we're talking about weight loss, and we're talking about things related to weight loss, a lot of times it's because of vanity. People look in the mirror and they go, oh, man, I'm overweight. But true beauty really comes from the inside. And when you try to unlock finding that, you're going to find a slimmer, younger-looking person. But not only that, you're going to find health, and you're going to find that you're going to have better skin, and you're going to have just every aspect of your health is going to be better. And so what I like about working with this company, about working with Sisel, is that, we've really championed the science of staying young. We've championed the science of staying healthy. And really, when I talk to people, if they can't afford our products and I have to substitute something of lesser value, I always compare them to the Sisel products, because we really do have the gold standard. And that's how we need to approach this. For people that are listening to the call that are taking Sisel products, that's really how you have to approach it. And when I'm looking at weight loss, man, I mean, last week, DW, what did we talk about last week? I'm going to quiz you.
Well, I was running through the airport, so that made that quite interesting. But we got into, matter of fact, I went through security with my phone on. That was kind of, send it through live, so that was kind of interesting. But when you're talking about the proper kind of, someone's bones, what was the word we used, Doc? My goodness.
Sarcopenic obesity.
That's it. That's what we talked about, that big word.
Yeah, and really what it means is, think about this, it means a skinny fat person, right? A skinny fat person. And what do I mean by that? When I started talking about that years ago with my patients, I like I told this gal, I remember years ago, 20 years ago, I said, well, you're just a skinny fat person. And she's looking at me. I said, well, look at it. You don't have any muscle. Yeah, you jump on the scale, you're only 110 pounds, but you have absolutely no muscle tone at all. And so I mean, just because you're have a normal BMI, a normal body mass index, it doesn't mean that you're healthy. And so when DW and I talk on this call, you got to remember that we're not just speaking to those of us like himself and myself that are overweight. We're talking to people about not just jumping on the scale and seeing the weight come off. We're talking about, how do you get healthy? And a lot of science out there that indicates that if you're overweight, you increase your risk of cancer. If you're overweight, you increase your risk of arthritis. If you're overweight, you increase your risk of heart disease and diabetes and depression and digestive problems. You increase your risk of having cardiovascular, circulation problems. You increase your risk of having back problems, right? I mean, if you're overweight, I'm trying to remember what the numbers were. It was really crazy numbers. But if you're overweight by even 10 pounds, the amount of extra weight that it puts on strain on your neck, right? Because those muscles that connect to your belly, they run up through the belly region, over the chest, and they attach onto the neck. And so then that extra weight is pulling forward. Well, just imagine if you carried around a 12-pound or a 10-pound briefcase and you held your arm out, outstretched, and you did that all day long. At the end of the day, your shoulder muscles are going to start to feel that. In fact, chances are most people wouldn't be able to hold that briefcase stretched out all day long, even with just a simple 10-pound weight, because it would overstress it and cause problems. And they've shown that if you simply take off 20 pounds, it can reduce the amount of pain that people have in their knees due to arthritis, and all of these different things. I mean, if you ever want to do something, sit in an airport or sit in a mall and watch people walk by and look at their posture and look how they carry themselves because of improper weight balance. And once you start doing that, it really starts to make you think about, hey, what can I do? And so I really like to talk about those things and talk about it, and when we look at statistics, I posted this on Facebook this morning. They've done some studies, and since 1971, they found that the average male in the United States consumes 168 calories per day more today than they did back in 1971. But check this out. They found that the average female consumed 335 calories per day more now than they did back in the 1970s. And that, if you just take and you just look at numbers, and in theory, right, when you look at numbers, and in theory, that's an average 18 pounds per year gain for every man, and that's a whopping 35 pounds gain per woman in America. And again, if you go to the mall or you go to the airport and you start watching people, I was with my son the other day, my oldest boy. He's a Golden Gloves boxer, and I went to the match, and I watched people what they were eating, and you got the little kids, the plump little kids running around, drinking these sugar, I don't even know what you call them, like slushy type things, I guess, and they'd finish one, and the parents would give them another $1. They'd run up and grab another one. They'd drink that one, and they'd drink another one, and I thought, man, right? I mean, that's what's happening. Another study indicated that children have a 350 calorie per day increase since the 1970s. 350 calories per day. And that might not seem like much. I mean, that's one can of soda, and that's one small order of French fries. And that's huge. That's huge. And so then we start looking at habits, and people have gotten larger sized plates so that the food can fit on the plate. And the spending on food away from home has almost doubled in the last 50 years. 1/3 of a person's meals, their calories, come from outside the home, and it's you look at how many meals we eat that are prepared. Even if you eat at home, how many meals you eat at home. My ex-wife was the champion of of hamburger helper, tuna helper. I think she actually used macaroni and cheese helper and maybe peanut butter helper. I don't know. I mean, everything came out of a box. And yeah, you had that, DW, peanut butter helper?
I'm just telling you, buddy, I've had too many helpers. That's how I got chubby.
Yeah, right?
You're jumping in this thing, and I think we need to spend a total session on childhood obesity and the whole bit. So, but keep going, big guy. You're on a roll. This is good.
Yeah, and I just think that as we look at this and we kind of look at the 12-week wrap-up, you know, that the DW and I have been covering on this, is that we got to just start wondering, where did it all come from? I mean, I went to an auction sale a number of years ago, and this guy had been collecting magazines. He had Time Life magazines, and he had Newsweek magazines dating back to the 1920s. Stacks and stacks of magazines. And what does it have to do with weight loss? Well, check this out. So I'm watching these guys buy these magazines. They were buying entire decades for $1 or $2. And I thought, well, what do you want to use those old magazines for? Do you have a bunch of birds or something, you know? And I'm thinking, what do you want them for? And then all of a sudden I realized, that's history. That's history right there. Look at those magazines. And I started bidding on them, and I bought stacks and stacks of magazines, and I've sat here and I've read things, magazines that were written in during World War II and the 1950s during the Cold War and the crazy 1960s, and when you start looking at that all the way up until the 1970s, there was ads in there that said, you know, do you remember the ad? It showed the skinny guy on the beach, and the big muscle-bound guy comes by and he's kicking sand in the face. This is a printed ad, so you gotta kind of put some imagination in it. And the big muscle-bound guy is kicking sand in the face of the skinny little guy on the beach, and it said, "Sugar, you need more of it." Think about that, dude.
Not cool.
Right? And I'm looking at that ad going, holy cow, have things changed today? We don't see an ad like that. When was the last time you saw an ad that said, DW, you're too skinny, you need some sugar?
Well, you know, that would be an educated idiot that would say something like that today.
That's
or
right.
An uneducated
That's right.
one. Sure.
And our food is just loaded up with sugars. It's loaded up with sugars. I mean, the other day I picked up a can of green beans at the supermarket, and I looked at it. Sugar. What? Sugar in my green beans? I just want green beans. And I had to go through a number of different brands before I found one that didn't have added sugar to it. So there's sugar in everything that you buy. And all this processed food, and we start wondering, why are we overweight? Well, because we're eating foods that's high in empty calories, low in nutrition, and so why do we need a company like Sisel? Well, I'll tell you why. Because we've got products that brings that nutrition back. And Alan Hordell and I were talking yesterday. I mean, you take a look at what I'm going to call our core products, the triangle of life. I mean, if you're just taking those, you're getting some really, really good nutrition. You're getting the minerals, and according to recent studies, 99% of us are missing key essential trace minerals in our diet. And I know, DW, you like to talk about those trace minerals in Spectramax and all of that. And then you start looking at forskolin, and forskolin is such a great product. It amps up the hormones in our body. And then we take a look at the fish oils we have that we have. I mean, they're just so superior with the CoQ10 and the omega-7s, not just the omega-3s. And this helps out with hormones and balancing fats and putting your body into a ketosis so that you burn sugar rather than converting it to fat, gluconeogenesis, right? Making new sugar. Why would you want your body to make new sugar? And that's what it's doing. And then you look at, some of the other things that happen is that, you start having depression because 90-some% of your serotonin is stored around the gut lining. And so if you're overweight, you're going to start burning off all that serotonin, and now every little stress factor that comes into your life causes a major breakdown. And I was listening to the Rolling Stones the other day, and they had a song. It was I forget what album it was on, but it was 19th Nervous Breakdown. And how many of us are going through that because of the food that we're eating? I mean, holy cow, DW, right? So what I did today is I asked my friend Tim Proctor. Tim, if you want to hit *6, get on the call and share a little bit about what did you do? What program did you follow? And it was before we had some of our new products like the Forsklin. What did you do to lose the weight that you've lost? Because you've lost like over 70 pounds and you've kept it off. Tim Proctor, are you there?
I'm here, Kurt, and thanks for asking me on, even though it was last minute, but hey, I'm here for you, brother.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's, when we got into Sisel, like you said, there wasn't a whole lot of products. We had this vanilla Sizzling, we had Ultramax, we had Accelerator, we had the, used to be Slender Pops, changed to Sizzle Pops, and that was kind of about it. And so, you were using those products, and that's how James O'Keefe got to where he was at, using those products initially. And, I didn't lose it all at once. It's over time. And, yes, it was a little over 70 pounds that I've lost. I'm sorry to say I did gain a little bit back. I haven't been out walking as much as I should have. And, I don't go to the gym every day. Here in Florida, really, you don't have to go to the gym. Just go outside and walk around in the heat, and you kind of sweat everything off. And that's what I did. I would go I started off doing like 2 miles a day. Then I built it up, and I was doing 10 miles, 13 miles, things like that. And that's what helped me keep it off. I also started eating a little bit better than what I used to do. I always loved going out to the buffets and getting, like you say, the plates got bigger. You were able to put stuff on there that you really probably didn't need to eat, and I did eat it all. That was the bad thing. And so when we got into Sizzle, I was actually a little over 310 pounds. And over the course of time, yes, I lost 70 pounds by using these products. And as Tom brought new products on, when we got the coffees, which have a weight loss effect to it. Then he got the weight loss coffee, then the Fire and Ice tea, and then the products that you mentioned for Skolin, Transfigure. Even guys can use that one, using the recurve that we used to have, on the outside. So there was different things, and as new products came on, I incorporated those into the process and just continually lost the weight. Again, didn't change a whole lot other than some of my eating habits to eat a little healthier. And one of the things you were talking about, back in the day, the nutrition in our plant or our vegetables and all was a whole lot more. Somebody had posted up, and I don't remember where it was at, but they were talking about, back 40 years ago, you had a serving of spinach, and you got a lot of the nutrients that you needed. And nowadays, because of our soils not being as nutrient-rich, the GMO, the whatever you want to call it, that they've done to the seeds, that to get the same amount of nutrients in that one serving of spinach, you now had to have 15 servings of spinach from today's plants. So, those things have changed. Back when we were in school, we had recess. We were out there playing, we were running, we were doing things. A lot of schools now don't have the recess time, so there's not a lot of activity because they just say there's not enough time for it, and that's where the childhood obesity starts at, and that's where it's continued on to all of us. We just don't have time to do it, and we just need to make sure we do. Like I said, I've lost 70 pounds, and because of the products, because of working with people like Ray Hutchinson, who's a great mentor, he'll talk to you and wants you to talk to him about your weight loss. What are you doing? Send me your weight. Send me what you've done. And that's what Jimmy O'Keefe had done. I've done it too. And so if you have a mentor or somebody to work with, that's going to keep you on track a lot better than just trying to do it yourself. It's great seeing you, Kurt, post up those things that you're doing, where you're losing a pound a day, a pound and a half, just by eating a little bit better and going to the gym several times. Those are things that kind of motivate people to get out there and do things. And now we have, instead of the regular challenge that we used to have, we now have the 10-day trim challenge. And they actually have a process on day one, what you can do. Sizzling, a nice meal, use the detox. Go through that. Day 2, what you do, and then after you get done with the detox, adding in the Balance D to get your gut health where you can absorb nutrients and help flush out the bad things out of your system. This diatomic hydrogen water that actually converts a lot of things to water and gets it out of your body too. So there's a lot of different products that we have. As long as we're focused on it and continue to use it, you're going to lose weight even if you're not really trying to. So I hope that helped out, Kurt.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Tim, and what an inspiration. I mean, think about that, everyone. I mean, here's a guy that lost 70 pounds, and like I said, he's put a little bit back on, but I know that, this year when summer comes in Florida, because, they have rough winters down there, and
all
Tim,
day
isn't that but, he has those rough winters down there, and he's put a little bit of weight back on to keep him warm. But, that's what happens, is that you gain a little bit at a time. I remember when I put my weight on years ago, I started putting a little bit on, and I thought, oh my gosh. I thought, Sweeney Cleaners was my cleaner at the time, and I got a hold of them, and I said, hey, what are you doing? You're shrinking my clothes. DW, you ever thought that?
I am telling you, they went, no clothes shrinking here. But,
right?
Just like what you were saying the other day, Doc Fizz, I mean, people think they can take those Thin Mint Girl Scout cookies and lose weight with them. And so you've got to know what, seriously, and we have fun with all this, but you got to know what you're putting in your mouth. And because some things will be processed through and some things will stick. And one of the keys, Doc, that really serves people really well is eating the same time every single day so your body knows when it's going to be fed. If it doesn't know and it has to guess when it's going to be fed, it's going to go ahead and store fat. It's a simple little principle, but man, does it make a difference.
It does, right?
Yep.
And that's the whole thing is that, but, think about it, DW. I mean, I'm Christian. We're not going to bring that into the call, but I'm just going to say that if you think about my religion, right? We celebrate everything, and everything is celebrated around food. Oh, you're happy, here, eat. Oh, you're sad, here, eat. Oh, you did this, here, eat. Here, hey, you haven't seen me in a while, let's go eat. And everything is surrounded around food. So we've got a culture that we've built around food, right?
Well, yeah, for the purpose of, you have a funeral. It's comfort food. You go through a stress thing. It's comfort food. You win a ball game and you got positive stress. Man, let's go celebrate and eat pizza. I mean, there's celebration food. You got Super Bowl, celebration food. And, when things kick into gear, starting with Halloween, you look at marketing and you look at every single month, they have things to extract money out of your system by putting junk into your system and getting us to buy and pay for it. All the way from the candy to what we do with Thanksgiving to what we parlay into Christmas, into New Year's, and then there's February 14th, which is kind of one of my favorite days. I try to do it every day. But you have Valentine's celebration. And, man, you move into St. Patty Day, you got Mother's Day, you got Father's Day, you've got Easter. All these things are rotated around food. And so you've got basically June and July free to lose weight. That's it, without being marketed, you're not the cool guy if you're not slamming the hot dog at the ballpark. So now June and July is ruined. And so there's always something out there, and it becomes most of eating, Doc, is social events, not health events. And so when you begin to think about what we're putting into our system, and and it's kind of crazy. And I was going to ask you this question, and maybe it's too late in the call to do this, but you take and I love your analogy, the skinny guy that's fat. In other words, their body composition is absolutely pathetic as much as someone who is. And what I want people to do is get healthy. You get healthy, you'll start dropping the weight. You'll start losing the weight. And yeah, you can. We can use our products are phenomenal at getting you to a position to where your body starts cycling and burning off fat and building protein with our sizzling, for an example, with several products that we have there. I mean, all the way from one of the great weight loss products we have a lot of people don't cash in on is our Omega Plus and the Heartify that's inside of it, or the coenzyme Q10. But Doc, everything is social eating. I mean, it is just crazy. I mean, we're just, it's just crazy out there. So back at you, buddy.
Yeah, exactly, right? And we start thinking about it. We start thinking, I used to ask this question of my patients. I'd say, think about this. Did you get unhealthy and then get fat? Or did you get fat and then get unhealthy? And really the answer to it is it can kind of go both ways, but really you get unhealthy first. And the reason that I can say that is that even if you overeat, you're not going to overeat if you eat healthy food, because your brain will release a hormone that says, yep, time to shut the mouth, time to close the feed bag up, right? But if you eat unhealthy food,
the buffet is closed.
It's closed. It's all you can eat, and I just told you that's all you can eat. But you're right. And so when we're looking at this stuff, sugar is a toxin. When you have excess sugar, which most people that are overweight, we do, when you look at it, what happens is that now you're unhealthy, and your body's got to figure out, where do you put that toxin? Well, that toxin's got to go in fat cells. So what it does, it makes new fat cells to store the sugar, and that's kind of the downfall. And then we look at the other toxins like fluoride and chlorine that stimulate that cause problems with the thyroid. And we look at all the estrogen that's in a lot of the food and in the bottles of water that we drink, and that stimulates fat production. And you just start going, holy cow, I mean, how in the world are you supposed to stay healthy when everything around you is stimulating you to be sick?
Absolutely. People just don't realize until you stop and realize that you don't know what you don't know until you know it. And so, and nothing's easy until it's easy. Now, those are all nice little interesting comments. But if people take on the sizzling, which is giving them nutrition for their muscles, and giving them fiber, which is a whole other way that our system processes, but dropping the starches and getting rid of the potatoes and the noodles and the rice, and dropping some of the starches. I mean, you can have a little bit here and there, but like potatoes is laced with lectin. Lectin is it's a natural compound. It's also in eggplant. Lectin's also in tomatoes. And if a certain kind of insects will eat something with lectin in it, it has enough poison in it, it just drops them over dead. Boom. Well, that poison doesn't kill us with a bite or two or three, but it can build up in our system and block pathways. And so when you talk about some of these hormones are supposed to signal, well, the signal gets jammed. And so you don't ever get signal that you're full. So it's kind of interesting. And with this new time change, I didn't prepare myself for the time change. It was yesterday, morning, and I like to do a certain thing at a certain time. And at 9:30, a lot of times I'll go ahead and have some brekkie or do a shake or something. And an hour before 9:30, I was like, man, I'm starving, hungry. What is going on? Well, my body was used to eating at an exact certain time and putting something nutrition in it. And so it started craving that nutrition because that's what it usually gets fed. And I try to stick on those schedules. Well, Doc, if people get rid of the starches, and they get rid of the sugars and they back off on the breads, they're going to get healthier quick. Because you said a key word. The key word for this call today, empty calories. Okay, you can have calories, but they can be healthy calories, like the calorie that's in a cauliflower, in a broccoli, that's in those long green bean things. What do you call those things? Asparagus. It's a nasty word out there, but asparagus, and a lot of people eat them long as they're soaked in butter and garlic. But you want to have them just lightly steamed to where they're fresh and juicy. So, but
With
just
bacon.
replacing the foods, and you said that the key phrase today, empty calories. Just stop it already with the empty calories. And and so I only ate 1,500 calories today, and I was eating 2,500. Yeah, but if they're Krispy Kreme donuts, are you kidding me already? It's going to kill you. And so we'll go back to what we started this whole call off with months and months ago. When I helped host the very first Doctor's Clinic call, our attitude was this: the greatest gift. And I'm quoting someone famous out of Kansas. His name is Clifton Moses Whited. That's my dad. And he said this: the greatest gift you can give your family is your health. And Doc, we can do it with some of this information you're throwing at us. We can get healthier. We can walk away from the starches, the sugars, and some of the breads, and even overabundance of dairy and stuff. I mean, it's not a problem. So now we need to close this thing out. So close her up, partner.
Okay, so here's what I was thinking. I'm going to close out because I want to give people a tip on what can you do today. What can you do today to make a change? Well, first thing that I want you to do is start counting your calories, actually keeping track exactly. Like when it says a cup of cereal, don't just dump it in a bowl that looks like a cup. Measure it. You'll be surprised. Your cup probably equals 2.5 cups of what a real cup is, and measure it. And when it says a quarter cup of milk, measure that out. When you start measuring, you're going to find that you have more calories than you really think you're doing. But do that, and then once you've done that for a while and you really know what you're eating, then what I want you to do is now I want you to break it down and look at the number of fat calories and grams in fat and the number of proteins and sugars and things like that. And if you're really trying to lose weight, what you want to do is you want to drop your carbohydrates down. I would say while you're trying to lose weight, drop your carbs down below 10% of your intake of calories. 10%. And what that's going to do is it's going to put your body into a little bit of a ketotic state, which means that you're going to burn fat as energy. It's going to tell your brain a little bit different. And what you're going to do is you want to bump the fat calories up. I mean, think about it. If you go to a steak buffet and you just eat steak, it doesn't take very many steaks, and all of a sudden you're full, and you stay full for a long time. So that's what I'm going to try and tell people to do. I mean, don't go to a steak buffet, but what I want you to do is just start watching those grams of fat and sugars and things like that. And then, because like DW is talking about, empty calories. What's the core products? What's the products that you just absolutely need? Well, the first one I'm going to tell you is Spectramax. Jump on the Spectramax. If all you've got is $50 to spend on products, buy the Spectramax. Then the next thing that you want to do is if you say, hey, I'm trying to lose weight and I've got $100, well, buy the Spectramax and buy the Sisel. That's my first two choices that way. If you can bump it up another notch, add the fucoidan because it helps balance out sugars. It helps trigger your brain to tell you not to eat more. And then if you can bump it up a little bit more, get the super omega, because I mean these are the core products. These are the core products, and then add the eternity, and you can see where it starts adding up a little bit. But when you're healthy, I mean, my mom and dad were talking the other day. Both my parents have had cancer. They've had a number of health challenges, and thank God they've beat them. And I asked my dad this simple question. I said, Dad, had somebody told you 25 years ago, hey, Joe, if you'd start spending $3 a day on these nutrition products, If you started spending $3 today, right now, while you're 50 years old, and it'll help prevent you from getting cancer in 25 years. It'll help prevent you from getting that arthritic pain in your knee in 25 years. Would you do it? And my dad said, absolutely, absolutely. So for those of you that are 50 years old right now or 45 years old, think about that. It's a wake-up call where you're saying, hey, somebody's telling you, start doing some things now that's going to prevent future problems. So, DW, I'll hand it back to you to close her out.
Well, it's exciting what we have our hands on, and knowing what's going on with Sisel. They're working on some things that's something to come out in the future that's going to absolutely rock the world when it comes to getting yourself healthy and being at the optimal body composition. And that's what Doc talked about, body composition earlier. When a person is skinny, what he called skinny fat. When a person is chubby, your body has a certain way it's supposed to be. There are genetics involved in some of these things, but we also are the ones who determine what goes in our mouth, period. We can control those things. Can't control genetics, but we can control, what we put in, and that's going to help with the body composition. Yeah, the bottom line is this. We're in this thing together. And we love everybody on this call bunches, and we care. And we're just going to continue to get better and get it right and help people through the things. A big thanks for Dr. Kurt being on the call today, and Tim Proctor, out of Florida there, being on the call with us as well. And those of you that are listening to this call, we appreciate you. Pass the information on. Get rid of the empty calories. Put the calories that are worth counting in there and into your system. And you know what? We'll get you next week. The world is your waiting room. Thanks for being part of the Doctor's Clinics call. Over and out.